everybody, and welcome to our Thursday night Adamkara meditation program. With all my heart and with all my love, I welcome you to our program this evening. Well, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for bringing the fullness of who you are in all your facets, from the infinite and the divine, down to your emanation here on this planet, walking this earth, being ones who are engaged in practice, committed to practice, and bringing the power of your practice and that commitment to our Sangha, our group tonight. So thank you for joining us. Tonight is a night where we're going to be doing some readings, and readings that are very invocative of what that highest state is. So we'll be diving into some of the writings of poets, saints, and sages. So, but first, we're going to make use of that power of mantra and how it can help transform the mind in the moment. Mantra as a throb of the infinite. Mantra as a carrier wave, in a sense, of that direct knowing. So mantra arises from beyond the mind and then draws our consciousness and the mind itself back into the source from which mantra arises. Thoughts arise from the mind, so thoughts only keep us within the confines of the mind. But mantra, coming from beyond, has that power to take us back to that place of direct knowing, that direct boundlessness of love. So we'll start with the opening mantras. Shri Mata Kali Mahadevi Ki Jai Gajananam Bhotaganari Sevitam Kapita Jambo Palacharu Bhakshanam Umasutam Shokam Vinashakarakam Namami Vigneshwara Parapankajam Shri Ganeshaya Namaha Shri Ganeshaya Namaha Shri Ganeshaya Namaha Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamandaya Purnamevavansishate Om Shanti 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 Shri Mata Kali Mahadevi Ki Jai. So once again, with all my heart and with all my love, I welcome you to our program this evening. And mantra, that throb of the infinite, can take us into the stillness, the silence, where direct knowing, the fullness of the divine's embrace, the fullness of God's love. It's always right there. Poor mind, it complains a bit, doesn't like becoming silent. It thinks it's the knower. It's not. To know the knower, we enter the stillness, we enter the silence. This is what Buddha discovered. It's what all the sages and saints come to know. But every mystic, that knowing, that unfolds in the stillness. And then we become so drenched in that even the noise of the mind, even the noise of the world, can't disturb that. That's what we come to know, where we come to live from. That's your birthright. So, in this month of so many holy days to celebrate, we want to have that discrimination, that discernment, to know that, yes, it was wonderful to celebrate those reflections of the divine, those revelations of the divine, the historical ones, but not instead of knowing here and now the fullness of that divine presence. That's where practices take us. So tonight, because this is the night we do kind of contemplative practice and some readings, and in this month of so many holidays, I was thinking, well, the holidays are celebrating the revelations, and that's what the poet saints and mystics have been giving voice to for millennia. And in many ways, their words are similar in power to mantra, because their words are their attempt to give the infinite sound form through words. Not to be taken literally, but to ride the Shakti, the power of consciousness, the power of love, the power of revelation that's in their words, that takes us back to the source for ourself. That's always what a yogi wants, to know directly. Know it now, here, always. So this is going to be a set of readings from a book that I have recommended countless times, because it's a wonderful collection. It's called Love Poems from God, and it's 12 sacred voices from the East and West. And the translations were done by Daniel Ladinsky. And I've drawn on his works in the past of translations of Hafiz and Kabir and others, because he has this way of capturing not the literal translation of the poet, but that power of that loving presence that the poet is trying to give to us here and now, across the ages, so we can be drenched in that. So we start with some of the work from Rabia, and Rabia of Basra, who was an 8th century mystic Persian Muslim. She was an ecstatic being. And when you think of how much has been written about, can be written by theologians trying to capture that realization, that knowing. But the poet mystic, they give a sutra, so short, so powerful. So Rabia writes, "One day he did not leave after kissing me. One day he did not leave after kissing me." So feeling that, knowing that, the divine has come. We're in the divine's embrace. And it continues and continues forever. That's what we're given to know. We're given the capacity. We're given the heart. We're given the consciousness to know that, to live that, to dissolve into that. One day, he did not leave after kissing me. Who doesn't want to know that? Rabia writes, ironic, but one of the most intimate acts of our body is death. So beautiful appeared my death, knowing who then I would kiss. I died 1,000 times before I died. Die before you die, said the Prophet Muhammad. Have wings that feared ever touched the sun? I was born when all I once feared I could love. We die to the ignorance. We die to the bondage. We die to the little self, enmeshed, caught. She writes, in my soul there is a temple, a shrine, a mosque, a church where I kneel. Prayer should bring us to an altar where no walls or names exist. Is there not a region of love where the sovereignty illumined nothing? Right? Where ecstasy gets poured into itself and becomes lost. Where the wing is fully alive but has no mind or body. In my soul there is a temple, a shrine, a mosque, a church that dissolve in God. Dissolve in God. In my soul there is a temple, a shrine, a mosque, a church where I kneel. Prayer should bring us to an altar where no walls or names exist. Is there not a region of love where the sovereignty is illumined nothing, where ecstasy gets poured into itself and becomes lost, where the wing is fully alive and has no mind or body? In my soul there is a temple, a shrine, a mosque, a church that dissolve in God. They dissolve all differences. All differences. No difference in that presence. She writes, it acts like love, music. It reaches toward the face, touches it, and tries to let you know his promise that all will be okay. It acts like love, music, and tells the feet, you do not have to be so burdened. My body is covered with wounds this world made, but still I long to kiss him. Even when God said, could you also kiss the hand that caused each scar? For you will not find me until you do. It does that. Music helps us to forgive. And the great mystic, Saint Francis of Assisi, he lived in the 13th century. And Saint Francis of Assisi, he went through extraordinary turmoil in his life. And was no stranger to suffering. And yet the flowering of that mystic's vision that love that he could give voice to. He writes, so precious is a person's faith in God, so precious. Never should we harm that, because he gave birth to all religions. All religions, all ways of reaching for the divine. Emanate from the divine. St. Francis writes, God came to my house and asked for charity. And I fell on my knees and cried, Beloved, what may I give? Just love, he said. Just love. What are we called to offer? Love. How challenging for the poor mind. Just love, it thinks, so often has a hard time reaching that. All God asks for is love. Love. Offer love moment by moment to the divine. However the divine is appearing in that moment. St. Francis writes, such love does the sky now pour, that whenever I stand in a field, I have to ring the light out when I get home. Such love does the sky now pour, that whenever I stand in a field, I have to ring out the light when I get home. This is what we're capable of knowing. That wherever we are, the light of the divine is illuminating. All that is, the light of the divine. Drenched in that, we can walk in the world. St. Thomas Aquinas, the 13th century Christian mystic and saint, often known for his intellect, and so good to see the love that poured through St. Thomas Aquinas. He writes, every truth, without exception, no matter who makes it, is from God. If a bird got accused of singing too early in the morning, if a lute began to magically play on its own in the square, and the enchanting sounds it made drove a pair of young lovers into a wild public display of passion, if this lute and bird got called before the Inquisition and their lives were literally at stake, could not God walk up and say to the court, all acts of beauty are mine. All happen on the behalf of love. And while God was there, testifying for our heart's desires, hopefully the judge would be astute enough to brave a question that could go, Dear God, you say all acts of beauty are yours, and surely we can believe that. But what of all actions we see in this world? For is there any force in existence greater than the power of your omnipresent hand. And God might have responded, I like that question, adding, now, may I ask one of you as well? And then God would say, have you ever been in a conversation when children entered the room and you then ceased speaking because your wisdom knew they were not old enough to benefit, to understand? See, as exquisite is your world, most everyone in it is spiritually young. Spirituality is love, and love never wars with the minute, the day, oneself, and others. Love would rather die than maim a limb, a wing. Dear, anything that divides man from man, earth from sky, light and dark, one religion from another. Oh, I best keep silent. I see a child just entered the room. Some truths are hard for the spiritually young, the immature, caught in concrete thinking, fundamentalism, trying to assuage their fears with dogma. The infinitude of love, the all-embracing love of the infinite, can't fit in that. St. Thomas Aquinas writes, one may never have heard the sacred word Christ, but be closer to God than a priest or nun. He understood. He had the mystic's vision. The divine is the infinite ocean of love, all embracing, no one, nothing left out. Regardless if you believe in one religion or another, what's important is God embraces all, at all times, in all places. St. Thomas Aquinas writes, because of my compassion, the sun wanted to be near me all night, and the earth deeded her fields to me, and all in heaven said, we have voted you our governor. Tell us your divine mandate. And I did, and God will never revoke it. Nothing in existence is turned away. More tender is my Lord's heart than any heart has ever been. So when the divine realm asked me to govern it with one simple rule, I looked into his eyes. Looked into his eyes and then knew what to say to any angel who might serve as a sentry to God. No creature should be turned away. When the veil thins, we feel that love. Any time, any place, all times, all places. Wherever you look, there's the one. No longer hidden. the great Sufi mystic of the 14th century, Hafiz. He writes, "How did the rose ever open its heart and give to this world all of its beauty? It felt the encouragement of light against its being. Otherwise, we all remain too frightened." The light of the infinite, the light of the divine, calling to our heart to open, to flower, against its fears, against its obstacles. You might think of a seedling. You've probably seen a seedling. I have. Pushing up through the hardened asphalt of a road. This little seedling pushing up, drawn by the light. Here's our heart, drawn by the light of that love, infused with that power to push up through all the obstacles, all the hardened layers of the world, to share the reflection of the infinite one, the beauty of the rose, the beauty of the heart, a reflection of the divine presence. That's what you are. You're that flower. Know that. Revel in that. Offer that. Hafiz writes, "Know the true nature of your beloved. In his loving eyes, your every thought, word, and movement is always, always beautiful. In his loving eyes, your every thought, word, and movement is always, always beautiful." So look at yourself as God looks at you. Come to know that. Just as you are. Just as you are. Hafiz writes, "Some gods, the tiny ones, say, 'I'm not here in your vibrant, moist lips that need to beach themselves upon the golden shore of a naked body.' Some gods say, 'I am not the scarred yearning in the unrequited soul. I am not the blushing cheek of every star and planet. I am not the applauding creator of those precious secretions that can distill the whole mind into a perfect wincing jewel, if only for a moment. Nor do I reside in every pile of sweet warm dung born of the earth's gratuity. Some gods say, the ones we need to hang, your mouth is not designed to know his love, was not conceived to consume the luminous realms. Dear ones, beware. Beware of tiny gods, frightened men worship, to bring an anesthetic control and relief to their sad days." The mystics, the sages, the saints, enter that ecstatic, loving presence of the divine that can't be held by dogmas and rules, virtue and sin. They don't dare show up in the face of God. The great mystic St. Catherine of Siena writes, I talk about it sometimes with him, all the suffering in the world. Dear God, I have prayed, how is it possible? All the horrors I have seen, the atrocities you allow man to commit when you, God, are ever standing so near and could help us. Could we not hear your voice say no? With such love and power, never again would we harm. And my Lord replied, who would understand if I said that I cannot bear to confine a wing and not let it learn from the course it chooses? But what of a man walking lost in a forest? I said, weeping and calling your name for help, and unknown to him, he is heading for a covered pit with sharp spears in it that will maim his flesh when he crashes through the trap. The Lord said, yes, and why don't I remove every object from this world that could cause someone to weep? Yes, why don't I speak in a way that could save a life? I opened my hand, and the infinite ran to the edges of space, and all possibilities are contained therein. All possibilities, including sorrow. In the end, nothing that ever caused one pain will exist. No one will begrudge me. The absolute innocence of all within my creation takes a while to understand. So far beyond the ordinary mind is that reality. We have to leave behind the ordinary mind and enter into union. Enter into union to know that in its fullness. The great poet Saint Kabir writes, I sat one day with a priest who expounded on the doctrines of hell. I listened to him for hours, and then he asked me what I thought of all he said. And I replied, that doctrine seems an inhumane cage. No wonder the smart dogs ran off. Kabir writes, with a begging bowl in hand, a man with amnesia knocks on his own door. See, my guru cured me of that profound illness. God, asking God for forgiveness or alms. Kabir writes, the words guru, swami, super swami, master teacher, murshid, yogi, priest, most of those sporting such a title are just peacocks. The litmus test is, hold them upside down over a cliff for a few hours. If they don't wet their pants, maybe you found a real one. So many can posture. Kabir writes, if you circumambulated every holy shrine in the world 10 times, it would not get you to heaven as quick as controlling your anger. Pious acts, the yogis know. We have to restrain the poor deluded ignorant mind and what it gives birth to come to know the fullness of our infinitude and live that into the world. The great 16th century Mirabai, she wrote, God has a special interest in women, for they can lift this world to their breast and help him comfort. That loving, compassionate stance that we need to bring to the world. So much more natural for some than others. Mirabai writes, I want you to have this, all the beauty in my eyes, all the grace of my mouth, all the splendor of my strength, all the wonder of the musk parts of my body. For are we not talking about real love? Real love. Offering it all to the divine, everything about us, an offering, a love offering to the infinite, everything about us, everything about our life. Mirabai writes, love, you have wrecked my body. Keep doing that. I am more well with this deep ache of missing you than content with the physical wonders you can pacify us with. That ache, that longing, we've spoken about that so many times. That ache, that longing for the infinite, for the divine, that draws us. As Kabir said, it's that longing that does all the work. She writes, the earth looked at him and began to dance. Mira knows why, for her soul too is in love. If you cannot picture God in a way that always strengthens you, you need to read more of my poems. If you cannot picture God in ways that always strengthen you, you need to read more of my poems. Because she points beyond just conventional images, which may not speak to our heart. Listen to the heart reaching for the divine. The heart will give the name, the form, or just the spaciousness of boundless love in which we come to know the one. And the great 16th century Saint Teresa of Avila writes, I would just say this. We bloomed in spring, our bodies as leaves of God. The apparent seasons of life and death our eyes can suffer, but our souls, dear, I will just say this forthright. They are God himself. We will never perish unless he does. Our heart essence, our soul is God, is the divine. It's what all revelation is about. It's what all holy days celebrate, coming to know the truth of that. Saint Teresa of Avila writes, just these two words he spoke to me changed my life. Enjoy me. What a burden I thought I was to carry, a crucifix as did he. Love once said to me, I know a song. Would you like to hear it? And laughter came from every brick in the street, from every pore in the sky. And after a night of prayer, he changed my life when he sang, enjoy me. Enjoy me. The state of knowing is a state of rapture. It envelops all. That's the joy. That's the, what we call in the yogic tradition, ananda, the bliss, the ecstasy, the rapture of pure knowing, pure union. That's what we're given. to know, given the capacity to know. That capacity is the divine. We are the divine. Incarnate for knowing the divine. Incarnate as well in its fullness, transcendence, and beyond. What a glorious gift this life is. So each moment is the call to knowing. Each moment we have a choice. Do we go with the call of the mind? Or do we go with the call of the heart of the divine? Make your choice. And then know, at any moment, it was the wrong choice. You can choose again. And choose love. Choosing love is choosing God. So now we're going to sing, we're going to chant the great mantra of the great mother, the Holy Mother, Kali Ma. Just another name for the boundless one who gives birth to all saints and sages, all knowing and unknowing, all born of the one. This feminine face of the divine. Om Kali Ma, Kali Durga, Namo Namah. So we'll chant, become absorbed in that carrier wave of the infinite, that throb of that love, that we may dissolve in that. And in the stillness after we stop chanting, then just keep resting in that wave after wave, arising and subsiding, embracing every thought, every feeling, every sound, every sensation comes and goes in that wave of the infinite, that wave of the divine, that ocean of love that is your being, holding it all, nothing, no one left out. So now we'll chant. Om Kali Ma, Om Kali Ma, Kali Durga Namo Namah, Kali Durga Namo Namah. Om Kali Ma, Om Kali Ma, Kali Durga Namo Namah, Kali Durga Namo Namah. Om Kali Ma, Om Kali Ma, Kali Durga Namo Namah, Kali Durga Namo Namah. Om Kali Ma, Om Kali Ma, Kali Durga Namo Namah, Kali Durga Namo Namah. Om Kalim Durga Namo Namah. Kalim Durga Namo Namah. Om Kali Ma. Om Kali Ma. Kali Durga Namo Namah. Kali Durga Namo Namah. Om Kali Ma. Om Kali Ma. Kali Durga Namo Namah. Kali Durga Namo Namah. Om Kali Ma. Om Kali Ma. Kali Durga Namo Namah. Kali Durga Namo Namah. Om Kali Ma. Om Kali Ma. Kali Durga Namo Namah. Kali Durga Namo Namah. Now, just resting in the stillness, the living presence of the divine, the loving presence of the one. Kalim Durga Namo Namah. Om Kalima. Om Kalima. Kalim Durga Namo Namah. Kalim Durga Namo Namah. So we end with this prayer that may all our practices truly benefit everyone, and may all beings know complete freedom from suffering. Namaste. So, taking refuge in the divine, taking refuge in the emissaries of the divine, the great mystics and poet saints, they go beyond dogma, beyond religion, right to the heart of knowing. That's what each and every one of us is capable of. That's what we're invited to. That's what it means to be symbolically, invited to God's banquet. What is that? That's that domain of knowing, delighting, feasting on the living presence, the love that knows no bounds. That's what we're capable of. That's what our holidays really point towards. Know that, live that into the world. So, with all my heart and with all my love, I thank you for coming this evening and bringing the fullness of your divine presence, your divine nature, as you are here and now, and bringing the power of your practices, the power of your commitment, sharing that with the Sangha, and sharing that with the world. Because everywhere you go, you are a carrier wave of the infinite. So the more we are immersed in the highest truth, the more that light shines into the world through just being present, just living our lives, but carrying the fullness of the divine in our hearts. So thank you for being ones who do that. And I look forward to seeing you next week.